Now I know what you're saying. What is up with Yunifi? That is a made-up name. I googled it. Nothing came up. But how do you use her and is she any good? Alright, so first of all, let's go over this unit. We're returning to unit guides because it's a good idea. Alright, so what does she have? So her default situation, Go-Getter, Keen. Now these, the Go-Getter is fine, but I do recommend hand mirroring her. And we'll show that in a second, but offensive Go-Getter is probably fine. You want damage on this chick. She's a damage carry. She has 2 obvious builds, and then you can just generally run her, but I'm gonna go over both of those in a second. Details, what is this? 5 stamina, infantry, range, can provide ranged attacks, range assists rather. 2 times bow damage versus flying, which is very standard for archers. And she has high evasion, like all the evasion tanks, and suffers against true strikes like most of the evasion tanks. What else does she do? She has 100 movement, so definitely average speed, bow, infantry, archer. So, you know, standard archer frame. But let's look at the skills. Here's where this unit gets interesting. All right, so first of all, you have Mystic Arrow. This is really not that cool. It's decent. Attack a single enemy, deals deals additional magic damage to armored. So basically it's a 200 potency attack, 100 physical, 100 magic. This is great for poking armors. This is decent, but this is not what makes her good. Sonic Shaft, attack a single enemy, deals 100% of target's initiative in additional damage. So the higher the initiative of the enemy, the more damage. This can be good for getting bonus damage. And as far as I can tell, it's just the actual amount. So if it's 50 initiative, you get 50 extra damage, not potency, actual damage. And then Glacial Rain, this is the big thing. So when you're first reading this, you're thinking, okay, what the hell is this? 60 potency, 3 hits, okay, so 180 potency, great. Attack all enemies, okay. Inflicts freeze, huh. Cost of 2 active points, hit rate of 80. It's a charge attack. So the way charge attacks work is every time you attack, it looks at the highest initiative of everything on the field, and the things with the highest initiative, it goes from highest to lowest. So if you're at the highest end, you go first if you're the absolute highest, and then the second, third, fourth, and so on. And you know, it doesn't matter who, if it's enemy or you alternate based on your initiative until you go down to the lowest, and then it resets. So when you do a charge attack, if you're the highest, you'll first start charging, everyone will do all their moves, then you'll go back down to, like, you'll reset the order unless you get stunned or frozen, and then you will execute your charge attack after everyone is gone. So typically the downside of a charge attack is that you're going to be very vulnerable while charging, but then if you pull it off, it's a big reward. But this is not going to be the case because we're going to be accelerating it, and I'll show that in a second. But basically, you can bypass every single downside of this, and then you're looking at 180 physical potency that inflicts freeze. And there's also crazier things that you can do. Now, the hit rate is actually a meme because she has built-in Eagle Eye. Before attacking with an active skill, it makes the user's next attack a true strike. So she always, as long as she has 1 passive point, will Eagle Eye herself. So the hit rate is basically true. It's basically a true attack. And then once you realize that, then you quickly realize that it basically is a true attack board nuke that freezes and for 2 active points. And then, you know, this is what the character is basically always wanting to do. There are other things too, though. Triple counter activates after an enemy attacks with active skill. Now, from what I understand about this, she has to be attacked. Now, I believe that also includes like row attacks and things like this, but it hits up to 3 things, and there is a counterattack item that improves counterattack damage by a flat rate of 40. So you just get plus 40 damage on up to 3 hits. So that can be a thing you can go for too. Maybe you want her to avoid tank on the front line against certain enemy team comps and just spam triple counter. That's another thing she can do at a low level. This is only level 15. Glacial Rain is obviously level 30. And then Snow White Strike activates after an ally attacks. Now this is just kind of like a sweetener. Just getting to level 30 is enough, but getting to level 35 just allows her to empty her passive points into more damage and inflict more freeze, and also gain potency versus frozen targets, which is just like, it's so overkill. She doesn't even need it, but it's just like this extra thing she gets. Tailwind is not an ability she has, it's from an item. All right, and then for Valor skills, for 1 Valor points, you have extra assist, increased enemy assist damage, or I'm sorry, increase assist damage by 50% and negate stamina consumption for all allied units within range. Duration 1 battle. So this is just, you know, just to boost your assist damage. It's not the best thing. There's definitely better things, but for 1 Valor point, it's not bad. It's respectable. Passive snipe for 3 Valor points. Decrease enemy units starting passive point by 1. Now this is interesting because there are certain enemy team comps that will try to shut you down in response to your attacks, like inflict blindness, debuff your attacks, and so on. And in some cases, they'll remove buffs like Dispel. That can be pretty annoying. So this can help deal with that and reduce enemy passive points and maybe, you know, allow you to hit through something. But it's decent. These are decent. There's definitely better options. Flat damage, resurrect, restoring stamina. These are typically better, or things that like allow you to move faster. But these are fine. But considering how insanely overtuned this ability is, and we'll show it right now. All right, so here is part of a build, right? All right, so what does this bow do? Initiative plus 10, evasion plus 10, physical attack 25. Glacial Rain is physical, so you just want the highest physical bow you can get your hands on, as well as whatever you need. So in this case, she is running Angel Plume, and she can Tailwind. Now she can get away with running Tailwind because all she really needs to do is Eagle Eye on her opening attack. Now I have her on Ancient Crown. This is a reward from, I believe, the Frozen Lands, one of the treasure chests, one of the treasure maps from mining. So +5 to all stats, base passive point +1. So this just gives you stats. It basically just gives you +5 damage. Now you could also run something else. You could just run something as simple as like a warrior medallion. That would be fine. Now warrior's medallion is nice because you get +2 physical attack, +10% physical attack on top of the +2, and you also get +10 crit. And the nice thing about Glacial Rain is that it rolls multiple attacks. So if your crit rate is like near 50%, the multi-hit, it hits each enemy 3 times. So you can roll tons of multi-crits and typically just immediately delete an entire group of enemies. So rolling low percent crits is fine. So if you don't want to run Ancient Crown, you could just run Warriors. Angel Plume, if you want to just make her faster without it being, you know, a very rare item, you can run something else like Raven Plume or Dove Plume. Either one of those is fine typically. You just want to boost her initiative up so that she can get her attack off immediately. That's really the key. And then Watchman's Lantern can be, this is an optional slot. I'm in the Angel Land, so enemies have blind, so this is like a thing to deal with. So I just have this on her so she can't be blinded by the Angel Archers that apply blind when you attack them. As soon as you attack them, if they have passive points, they blind you. So it completely negates her attack. So you have to have this, or something like this, or some kind of cleanse, so that your attack gets through. But this can be something else depending on the area in the game you're in. It could be, you know, more active points, more passive points, damage increase, whatever you want it to be, whatever utility you need. But the main thing you want to be doing is Glacial Raining, and then Eagle Eyeing. And then the Tailwind is something she can do, but it's not something she needs to do. Now this team I'm experimenting with a bit. I would not one-to-one copy this team. It can kind of stomp a lot of things on True Zenoiran, but I don't recommend it. I kind of just threw this Legionarian, it's about to call him Hoplite, this Legionarian just for the sake of having a frontline tank. It does have mostly good matchups, and it tends to almost never die and take minimal damage. But essentially the team comp is something like this. So the main thing you want to combo with Glacial Rain is Quick Impetus. Quick Impetus allows you to act again and also grants +1 AP. So in order for her to do this attack, she needs 2 action points, right? So you don't necessarily need to use this bow. You can run like a crit bow. Like this is perfectly fine. I think this is her joining bow as well. But you can also run this for just like 30 damage, but this gives you crit rate as well as evasion, so it makes her a little bit more evasive, and it makes it so that when she attacks, each individual attack basically now has a 50% chance to crit. So if you hit something 3 times, there's a pretty high chance. It's basically 3 coin flips, so you're gonna see at least a crit per enemy, very like statistically. So you could run this to boost up her crit rate. So if you want to optimize her damage and keep it on the cheaper side, not have to worry about like rare artifacts, you could run something like this. Let's find like a Warrior's Medallion. Now you're looking at crit rate 45, or I'm sorry, 54. Dyslexic today, apparently. But this gives you crit. And also look at the evasion. Her evasion is good enough to tank most like things that are going to be thrown her way. But the interesting thing about this build is that the Legionnaire has an active ability that grants passive points. Now I think you can kind of see where this is headed, right? You could potentially set up 2 of these if you allow her to have 4 AP. So for example, if she runs this bow and she gets hit with impetus, she goes to 4. So she uses the thing. All right, so she's at 3, she uses it, she's at 1. She gets impetused, she immediately glacial rains for big damage. She gets back to 2. Okay, and then if she were to attack something, she'd get down to 1, and then if she impetused again, she would be able to use it. But if she attacks something in between there, so you won't be able to do it twice. Now, sometimes that can be valuable, so you can, in this case, do it twice. Now, what will happen is if he's always going to Great Shield and you disable everything else, he can recharge this in Quick Impetus a second time. That's a thing you can do. So, because he's one of the few units who can give himself passive points. Now, it's going to take some time to do this, but if it's a long, drawn-out fight, this was the idea behind this. Alternatively, he can, of course, do like heavy cover and things like this, but this is kind of like a crazier version of this that I was testing out. The more simplistic version is you just Glacial Rain, and then whatever AP she has left, you just attack stuff, and you can set whatever rules you want. And then you want her to Eagle Eye. So here's the order of operations. She acts quickly, in this case, so she's 49 initiative, which is decent. The other bow does have higher initiative, so that's something to weigh. Do you want the crits? Do you want the initiative? Depends on the enemy team. It's fine if you have several bows you switch between based on what you're fighting. So if let's say we're going for crits, so we run these 2 items. Glacial Rain, then she gets Impetus, and then she gets Flame Conferred. Now the Conferrals, I know what you're thinking. Why would you apply Flame Conferral to an ice attack? You can be frozen and burning somehow. I don't understand it, but all you need to know is dudes can be on fire while being frozen. And it works. It just works. It's like what Todd Howard said. It just works, right? So they can be on fire. Now, what is an alternative to this Conferral? You can just basic Conferral. It's the same damage. The burn is just nice to help like push over things into getting a kill. But you could just basic magic Conferral on a witch. It's the same plus 50 potency. It also kind of helps you deal with things that are high defense because she does target defense specifically. But so you get Impetus. She gets Conferred before the attack, and then she True Strikes herself with Eagle Eye. And then you get a huge attack off. This is like these are the main components. Now this can be any unit with this white cat here, or cat ear hood, or the black cat ear hood. Either is fine. Either one of those, it's the exact same item basically. And you can have it on any utility unit. So the key thing is like some kind of Conferral unit, whether it be through like a tome, like Flame Conferral. I do not recommend stunning them because you already freeze them. You could use Lightning Conferral. So like here are your options really, and it's 2 passive points. If you just want damage, just the basic 1 passive magic Conferral from Witch is totally fine. But you could Bloodbrand Tome, which like heals you. This isn't really valuable if you're at full health though, so I kind of don't recommend it unless you need it to heal, which is why I have it. Frostbrand is redundant, you already apply freeze. Thunder is nice because let's say you hit them with the freeze and with the stun, and then you break their freeze. Now they're still stunned. So this is valuable. And with Flame, it's valuable because if you hit them first and they have multiple actions, and it's going to be a long drawn out fight with like cleanses, debuffs on your side, and they're healing and all this stuff. If the burn sticks, every time they use an active ability, they just take burn damage. So just boost the damage. So fire to boost damage, Bloodbrand to heal, like blood to heal, Thunder for stun for when your other teammates attack and deal damage, which will break the ice, even if you freeze them again. If you attack with an ice attack, like against a frozen enemy, you will break the ice and it will not refreeze them. That is very important to know, because you might think, oh, well, why don't I just combo this into itself? You can do that, and you can kill enemies doing that. And you can do this multiple times per battle, because it's only 2 active points. And if she gets impetus, especially twice, which is difficult to set up, but it could be done, she could pull that off. Or you could just have higher action points. Now the other build is a frontliner build, where the idea is you leverage triple counter and you make her an avoid tank. So all right, so here's what we would want. Evasion on this bow, and just huge damage. And then we want, I would say, lucky coin. So let's find it. There's a lot. Oh yeah, you want this. Retaliation earrings. I'll show where to get those as well. It is in the Dragonlands? I always called it the Dragonlands. It's called like Drakenlands or something like that. Let's see, lucky coin. Why lucky coin? It gives you evade and crit. All right, so here's an example. Now you have some options here. All right, so you would not be glacial raining here. You could go for either of these. You can go for punching through armor. You can go for attacking other things. You could go for glacial rain, but read what it says. User cannot evade or use passive skills. So if you're going to be a counter bot, now it is pretty good damage. You are going to be getting attacked and hit. So you're going to be banking on being evasive and not dealing with true strikes. But if you do deal with true strikes, you can use like heavy cover. And also note, this is not limited. So technically this can trigger when other things trigger. So you should be able to cover this and then still have her block, like through a true attack. But you also can do this. So if we want to get the evasion to absurd heights, there are other items, like a simple royal scarf. So now her evasion is 124. And when she does her counter attack, she does huge damage. And the lucky coin allows you to crits. Now in this case, she has 2 counter attacks. You could easily add more. So for example, if you want to drop Scarf or Lucky Coin, I would recommend dropping Scarf. You can run Sapphire, and now you're sitting on 4 counterattacks that deal pretty good damage. And then of course with this weapon, she has 3 basic attacks. So she can kill armors and then counterattack whatever attacks. So this is pretty decent. And being on the front line, you're going to be getting hit by things. So it's fine. It's not as good as the other build, but it's decent. It's like a solid option for her if you don't have like an idea for her or a big plan for her. Now the rest of this team, just because I'm sure you're curious, let's actually fix this. So reset everything back to what it was at. And I'll demo the team because I know you want to see. I'll put her back on crown. Or maybe not. Maybe we should commit to the crits. Because we're rolling, she might as well roll for crits. Let's see. We just need to get her on Warrior's Medallion. Get her off Retaliation Earrings. Get her on this, and then get her on Plume. Just to get her initiative way higher. The plumes are typically all together if you organize by item ID, so I just need to find one of them. Alright, so with this loadout, she's 59. Alright, so let's check it out. She's 59 initiative with this loadout at this level. Oh, she has her own thing too that she's doing. Alright, Glacial Rain, Quick Impetus, Eagle Eye, Conferral. And there it is. And then everyone else, the other things, the other units, like your Impetus unit is optional. Your other 2 units are optional. I would say the Witch is something you should always run. But honestly, even that's optional because you could do this. It doesn't even have to be a witch. You could run like literally anything. It truly doesn't matter. You can just Gambler's Coin her. So like let's say, I don't know, let's just run Joseph for fun. All right, welcome to the team, Joseph. Let's just say he has Gambler's Coin. I need to buy a second one of those, but for the sake of this, I'll just run it really quick. Now, Gambler's Coin is good here because she is true striking. So if we do back row, let's make sure, all right, highest initiative, we'll say, which is going to be her. He'll only use this on her because she true strikes herself. This other unit, she should be doing Arrow Rain. Immediately activate 1 charge attack. I wonder why that's not working. Huh. Or maybe it's because she hasn't gone yet. We killed. I think that's why. I think it's because we killed beforehand. This is another combo idea. for a different build. I wouldn't recommend running this on her. I think she's better off with the support. But we Gambler's Coin her, and then if we look at this, we get plus 30% attack, plus 50% crit damage. You lose accuracy, but it's true strikes, doesn't matter. So if you wanted to lean into the crits more, you could do that. So now she's 104 evasion, 74 crit rate with this build, true hit on opening, and she should stomp. Let's find a thing to fight. Now if I find one of these stupid angel teams, okay, these guys are actually killing us. So there's something going on here. Something weird. Typically, let's see, Gold Bangle, Aerial Pursuit, Eagle Eye. It's possible we don't kill. Wait, heavy counter, maybe this is it. 100%, yeah, I think they're killing my tank in the front line. Let's see, let's organize. I have Joseph just doing whatever. Let's drop him and put the witch back, because that was just an example. You could Gambler's Coin a witch though if you really wanted to, but the witch already works with this team because she freezes and stuff. We can try the stun conferral so you can see that. Let's find her. Here she is. She's also using Millennium Scepter for like the stats, not for the big thing. It's just kind of being wasted on her right now. Alright, let's get her on Thunder Tome. Alright, and then back row. Highest initiative. Let's see. Alright, that's better. Let's check that out. I think they have counterattacks. That's probably what's going off. You have to be careful with some of these like endgame enemies. They do crazy things. Like counter you pretty well.
Dust yourselves off.
Alright, so they're frozen and stunned. It must be a counterattack. Yeah, arrow rain. Oh, significantly less damage than our frozen girl here. I'm guessing they just one-shot him now. Yeah, I was about to say now. It's a counterattack. I knew it was a counterattack. It's usually something like that. This is why I don't like running armors, by the way. They get killed by things like this all the time. Yeah, then she can like clean up. So there you go. There's the unit. She's a hard carry. Now the idea behind that other unit, if you're curious, the idea behind this was originally she was super high. The arrow range is just not worth it. She was super high initiative, and she would use Mystic Conferral because this is an active ability, so you could stack more damage onto her, and it does work. It functions, like it actually does do that. But what you have to do is you have to change these rules to conferral the correct target. But notice that even stunned enemies can like counterattack and stuff, so you have to be careful. Like sometimes, you know, counterattack that is unguardable and punishes armor kills a legionnaire, for example. So some of these things have like critical weaknesses. But this unit can pretty much be safely run into almost any team comp, and she can be one of the main damage carries with a board nuke that is cheap to use. Now counters to this. You will run into counters to this. This can get dispelled. Conferral can get dispelled. So if both get dispelled, or even just the impetus gets dispelled, she will wait until her next turn, so it has to go through everyone's active turns for their first action, and then she gets to Glacial Rain. And usually by then you'll have a few things dead and she'll probably clean everything up, but you have to be aware of that. The dispel is a serious hard counter to this. Other units just have a board nuke that doesn't need setup like this, and that just goes off. It can't be dispelled, so something to take note of. But the damage is crazy. It's a good unit. There's different variations of this. Feel free to tweak this as needed. I don't recommend this team exactly. I would change this out. I would change this out. I would run this and maybe this, and then run two other like different units. Maybe like a Virginia in the front or something else that's like more tanky, that isn't an armor, because armors just have too many weaknesses, man. It's just hard to play around it. So that's it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this or found this useful. I've been playing around with this team comp, but instead I figured I'd just do a unit guide because the team comp is going to be changing a lot until I figure out something good. But yeah, that's it for this one. Peace.